We're going to start talking about interest. And interest is when you take an amount of money, a certain amount of money, and you get more money from it. Okay, and this is done through a lot of different ways. The government will pay interest, banks will pay interest. If you get a credit card and you borrow money from the credit card company to pay for something, then you can pay interest. Okay, and so there's different types of interest, and the type of interest we're going to start with is called simple interest. And this is the easiest type of interest to look at. And it is specifically where we just take the interest rate and multiply by the principal, okay? And principal is what you start off with. That's just the initial amount that you have. And then you multiply by that by the number of years that have elapsed between payments. And we only calculate simple interest based off of the original amount. This is what makes it simple. Okay, if you start making interest on your interest, that's what's called compound interest, and we'll talk about that later. So this is the formula for simple interest. I'm going to talk about the different things here and what they mean. So here, first of all, I, that just stands for interest. Interest. So this is a formula that's going to let us calculate interest. Okay, P stands for principal. Principal. And this is the amount that you start with. Okay, the amount that you start with. So maybe this is the amount that you're going to put into a bank. Okay. Next, we've got this R, and that is the interest rate. Interest rate. And then finally, we've got this T, and that stands for the number of years that have passed. Okay, and so this is the formula that we're going to be using. Now, interest is usually referred to with APR, and APR is the annual percentage rate. Okay, and this is, like the name suggests, it's annual. So this is the total interest that will be paid in a year. So sometimes monthly payments are made, but that is calculated based off of the annual rate. Okay. And so, for example, to keep it simple, if I had an annual rate of 12%, then I would split that up into 1% each month. Let's look at an example of simple interest. Suppose your city is building a new park and issues bonds to raise the money to build it. So a bond is when the government will sell you a bond. And so they take your money. So you give them your money, and you have the bond that indicates that the government owes you money, and they will pay you a certain amount of interest. Okay, so you obtain a $1,000 bond that pays 5% interest annually that matures in 4 years. Let's talk about this word here. So this is when it ends. Okay, so when all interest is paid back to you. Okay, so it matures. So in 4 years after buying the bond, you're going to get your all of your money. How much interest will you earn each year, and how much interest will you earn in total over 4 years? So let's look at our example. At our formula, which is I equals P times R times T. Okay, so each year, so in 1 year, okay, we're just going to plug in everything that we have. So we don't know the interest. P, that's the initial amount, so that's the $1,000. So 1,000, okay, times R is the interest rate, that's 5%, and we write that always as a decimal. So that's 0.05. And then T is the amount of time passed in years. And so if we just want to know each year, then that's going to be just 1. Okay. And so then we can plug this into our calculator and multiply it, and we end up with $50 in interest in 1 year. Now we want to know how much we get over 4 years. Over 4 years. And so we use the same formula, but now we've got our principal, which is the 1,000, and we've got our interest rate, which is 5%. And t now is all 4 years. And so we multiply those together, and we get 200. And so we would earn $200 interest over these 4 years.